Welcome, students, to my lecture. If you are ready, let's begin. Tonight I want to take you on a journey, not across space or time, but into the depths of your own being, where all the mysteries of life are hidden, waiting for your recognition. There is a world within you that is infinitely more real than the one you see with your physical eyes. That world is the source of every event, every condition, every person who enters your life. And until you discover that world and learn how to operate within it consciously, you will move through life as a wanderer, never knowing why things happen as they do. But once you become aware of the inner world, and once you accept that the inner world is the only reality, then life becomes a magnificent unfolding of your own creative power. You begin to understand that your imagination is not a passive faculty. It is the very power of God within you. It is the creator of your world. When I speak of God, I am not speaking of some being outside yourself. I am speaking of the one and only reality. I am speaking of your own awareness of being. For this is the meaning of the name revealed to Moses. I am that I am. The name of God is your own sense of awareness, your own I am. Before you attach anything to it, before you say I am this or I am that, there is simply the feeling of I am. That is God. Everything else is a state you choose to occupy. But the root of all states is the divine presence within you, which is your own imagination. You may find that statement strange. You may think imagination is some idle fancy, a place where daydreams live and childish fantasies occur. But I tell you that imagination is the creative power of the universe. Everything that exists was first imagined. Everything you experience now was once a thought, a feeling, a belief. And everything you will experience in the future is being shaped now by your imaginal activity. Now let me explain the nature of states, for this is central to understanding how imagination works. A state is an attitude of mind. It is a body of beliefs. It is a mood. It is a way of perceiving yourself and the world. Every person you meet is in a state. Every moment you are in a state. But the state is not the self. The self is eternal. The self is the I am. States are temporary. States are like rooms in a great mansion. You may walk into a room of wealth or into a room of poverty. You may enter a room of love or a room of sadness. You may enter a room of confidence or a room of fear. But no matter what room you enter, you remain the same being. You can leave any state the moment you choose. But most people do not realize they can choose. They believe that states are imposed upon them by circumstances. They think, I am in this state because the world put me here. But nothing could be further from the truth. You are in the state you occupy because at some level, consciously or unconsciously, you consented to it. Now let me be clear, this is not about blame, this is about understanding your creative power. If you are the operant power, then you are free to choose a new state. And the moment you choose it, and sustain that choice with feeling, that the outer world will begin to rearrange itself to reflect the new state. Let us take the example of wealth. Wealth is a state. Poverty is a state. The question is not whether you have money at this moment, but whether you dwell in the state of abundance or the state of lack. You may have very little money, yet occupy the state of abundance. And if you persist in that feeling, money will come. You may have a great deal of money, yet occupy the state of lack. And if you persist in that feeling, money will flow away from you. Your outer possessions do not define your state. Your inner feeling does. I once knew a man who was constantly worried about money. Even when he had more than enough, he feared he would lose it. He watched every penny. He lived in a state of anxiety. And because he dwelled in that state, he continually created situations that confirmed his fears. He lost business opportunities. He made poor investments. He surrounded himself with people who reinforced his worries. Finally, I told him, stop thinking in terms of money. Think in terms of abundance. Feel that you are provided for. Feel that you have more than enough. And do not think of how it will come. Simply feel the state. At first, he resisted. He said, Neville, this feels like lying to myself. I said, then lie. If the truth is that you are infinite, then anything that contradicts that truth is the real lie. So lie your way into the truth. He began to practice. Each night he imagined himself as a man of means. He saw himself living with ease. He felt generous. He felt expansive. He persisted, and little by little opportunities came. He found himself acting with confidence. He attracted new sources of income. And eventually he found that the feeling of abundance had become natural to him. The world had changed, but only because he had changed himself. Let us now consider another example, the state of love. Many people long for love. They search for it in others. They plead for it. They feel unworthy of it. They chase it. They fear losing it. But love is a state. If you occupy the state of being loved, you will draw to yourself all the evidence of that state. People will love you because you love yourself. Not in the sense of vanity or ego, but in the sense of accepting your own worth. I once met a woman who told me she had never been loved. She said, Neville, I try so hard. I give so much. Why does no one love me? I said, my dear, you are trying to get love rather than being loved. Love is not something you receive. Love is something you radiate. When you occupy the state of love, you do not need to seek it. It will find you. She said, but how do I feel loved if no one loves me? I said, you feel it the same way you feel anything else. You imagine it. You assume it. You live in the feeling of it. You do not wait for the evidence. You generate the evidence. She began to practice. She imagined being cherished. She heard loving words spoken to her. She felt the joy of being valued. At first it felt unnatural, but she persisted. Within months, she met a man who adored her. But more importantly, she discovered that she had changed. She no longer lived in the state of being unlovable. She had entered the state of being loved, and the world reflected that state. Now let us consider the power of inner speech. Nothing is more important than the conversation you carry on within yourself. Your inner speech is the cause of your outer world. You may think you are reacting to circumstances, but you are actually reacting to your own inner conversations. If your inner speech is filled with doubt, your world will mirror that doubt. If your inner speech is filled with confidence, your world will mirror that confidence. If your inner speech is filled with fear, your world will mirror fear. If your inner speech is filled with gratitude, your world will mirror gratitude. Let me tell you a story. A man once came to me, furious with his business partner. He said, Neville, the man has betrayed me. He has deceived me. I trusted him and he used me. I responded, and what have you been saying to him within yourself? He hesitated. I said, tell me the truth. He said, well, I've often imagined him taking advantage of me. I feared it. I thought about it. I argued with him in my mind. I prepared myself for the worst. I said, and you received exactly what you prepared for. Nothing happens to you unless you imagine it. And if you persist in imagining something, whether consciously or unconsciously, you will inevitably bring it into your world. Now, let us speak of revision. Revision is the art of changing the past. When something happens that you do not like, do not accept it as final. Revision is what? Rewrite it in your imagination, change the scene, feel the new scene to be real, and persist until it feels natural. This is not denial. This is creation. You are not pretending that the event did not happen. You are changing the meaning of the event. You are changing the emotional charge of it. And by doing so, you change its future consequences. Imagine you had an unpleasant conversation. Do not replay it in your mind. Recreate it. Rewrite it. Hear yourself speaking kindly. Hear the other responding lovingly. Feel the warmth of a new scene. This is forgiveness. This is redemption. This is the creative power within you. Now let us explore the state akin to sleep. This is the most powerful moment of the day, when your body is relaxed and your mind is quiet, but you are not yet asleep. You enter a receptive state. In this state, your imagination is most potent. This is when you plant the seeds of your desire. Construct a simple scene that implies your wish is fulfilled. See it in vivid detail. Feel the reality of it. Let it become natural. Into the scene as a participant, not as an observer. If your desire is to be well, imagine the relief of being healthy. If your desire is to be wealthy, imagine the freedom of financial ease. If your desire is for love, imagine the warmth of companionship. Fall asleep in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and the subconscious will bring it about. Now let us turn to the promise. The promise is the revelation that God is within you and that you are God. You may think this is blasphemy, but it is the truth of your being. God became as you are, that you may become as he is. One day you will awaken within your skull. You will rise from the tomb of your own head. You will experience the birth from above. You will meet the child, the symbol of your rebirth. You will see David, who calls you Father. You will ascend the golden spiral. You will witness the descent of the dove. These experiences will reveal to you that the Jesus of Scripture is not another. He is your own true identity. Now let us consider the nature of the world. The world is a mirror. It reflects your inner state. It reflects your assumptions. It reflects your beliefs. If you do not like what the world shows you, do not attack the mirror. Change yourself. Change your state. Change your inner conversations. Change your assumptions. On the world will reflect the new state. Many people believe that the world is separate from themselves. They think, this person is against me, this situation is unfair, this system is broken. But nothing is outside you. The world is yourself pushed out. If you change within, the outer must follow, not because the outer has power, but because it has none. The outer is an echo. The inner is the voice. Change the voice, and the echo must change. Now let us explore the law of identical harvest. Whatever you imagine with feeling, you will harvest. The seed is the imaginal act. The soil is your subconscious mind. The harvest is your outer world. If you imagine something consistently and feel it real, you will bring it to pass. This is the law. It does not fail. It does not judge. It does not choose. It simply expresses your assumptions. Now let us speak of faith. Faith is not belief in something external. Faith is the feeling that your assumption is real. Faith is living in the end. Faith is persistence in the face of contrary evidence. Faith does not look to the future. Faith rests in the present. Faith says, it is done. Faith says, I am. Let me share with you the story of a woman who wanted reconciliation with her husband. She said, Neville, he has left me. He says he no longer loves me. He lives with another woman. How can imagination change this? I said, my dear, love him as you wish to be loved, not as you fear you are loved. Imagine him kind. Imagine him gentle. Imagine him returned. Do not imagine the other woman. Do not imagine rejection. Imagine love. She began the practice. Each night she imagined him with her, speaking tenderly. She imagined him expressing regret. She imagined the joy of reconciliation. Within 3 months he returned. Their love was stronger than before. She realized that she had never been competing with another. She had only been competing with her own inner assumption. Now let us turn to a deeper truth. Creation is finished. Every state exists now. You do not create the state, you enter it. And by entering it, you activate it. If you desire success, you enter the state of success. If you desire love, you enter the state of love. If you desire health, you enter the state of health. The states exist. Your task is to assume them. Now let us move further. When you leave this physical body in what the world calls death, you do not end. You continue your journey in a dimension just like this one. You awaken in a body fashioned from your thoughts. And you meet those whose vibrational states match your own. But even there, the law operates. You imagine, and your imagination creates. You cannot escape yourself. You carry yourself into every realm. Now let us return to this world. This world is the classroom of God. Its purpose is to awaken you to your creative power. Every challenge, every disappointment, every joy, every success is a lesson. Once you learn that imagining creates reality, you gain mastery. You no longer fear conditions. You no longer blame others. You no longer look outside for salvation. You create from within. You live from the end. You occupy the state of your desire, and you trust the Lord. Now let us speak of forgiveness. Forgiveness is not the act of excusing someone. Forgiveness is revision. To forgive is to revise the events, to rewrite the script, to feel the new scene is real. When you revise, you free yourself and the other from the consequences of the old scene. Revision redeems, revision heals, revision transforms. Let us now consider the nature of imagination. Imagination is not an idle faculty. It is the creative power of God. When you imagine with feeling, you create. When you imagine with persistence, you shape reality. When you imagine with conviction, you bring forth miracles. Everything that exists was imagined. Every invention, every work of art, every relationship, every event began as an imaginal act. Now let us consider the final movement of the lecture. Tonight, when you lie down to sleep, do this simple practice. Close your eyes. Relax your body. Enter the state akin to sleep. Construct a scene that implies your desire is fulfilled. Enter the scene. Feel it real. Let the feeling carry you. Fall asleep in the state. If you do this consistently, your life will change. The creative power within you will bring forth the desire. You need not think of how. You need not force anything. You need only assume the state. You are not here to suffer. You are not here to struggle. You are not here to live in fear. You are here to create. You are here to imagine. You are here to awaken. Everything is possible to you. Everything is within you. Everything responds to your inner state. You are the operant power. Use it wisely. Use it lovingly. Use it boldly. Now we continue from where we left off, not as though beginning something new, but as though deepening what has already been planted in the heart. For truth is not taught by adding more concepts. Truth is taught by returning again and again to the same center until it becomes natural. So tonight we continue the unfolding of that great truth. Your imagination is God, and your world is the expression of what you imagine. Everything begins within. Nothing begins without. You do not meet anyone in this world who is not yourself pushed out. Every event that seems to come from outside begins in the imaginal act. And if you do not know this, you walk through life bewildered, wondering why things happen as they do. But once you know it, you walk through life empowered, unafraid, for you realize you can choose your reactions, and by choosing your reactions, you choose your future. Now let us go deeper into the nature of reactions. Every reaction is an imaginal act. You may think you are reacting to something outside yourself, but you are actually reacting to your own inner beliefs. If you change the belief, the reaction changes. If the reaction changes, the event that would have followed no longer comes. I once knew a man who lived in constant irritation. He was always offended by something. Someone spoke too loudly. Someone spoke too softly. Someone was rude. Someone was slow. Someone did not appreciate him. He blamed the world for his unrest. I said, my friend, the world is not your problem. Your reactions are, you are reacting from a state of irritation. If you change the state, your reactions will change, and the world will no longer provoke you. He doubted me. He insisted that people were genuinely troublesome. I said, they are troublesome because you expect them to be. You are meeting your expectation. Change the expectation. Change the state, he practiced. He imagined himself as calm. He felt himself at ease. He entered the state of peace. And gradually, his reactions softened. The world softened. People seemed kinder, and he realized that nothing had changed except himself. Now let us look at the way the world reflects states. Suppose you occupy the state of being ignored. Wherever you go, people will overlook you. Suppose you occupy the state of being admired. Wherever you go, people will respect you. Suppose you occupy the state of being misunderstood. Then even your kindest words will be taken the wrong way. But if you occupy the state of being understood, your words will be received as you intend. States are magnetic. They draw conditions that correspond to them. You cannot be in the state of loneliness and draw companionship. You cannot be in the state of fear and draw safety. You cannot be in the state of lack and draw abundance. You must enter the state that matches your desire, and the outer world will conform. Now let me tell you about the importance of persistence. Many people imagine a scene once or twice and then abandon it when nothing happens. They say, Neville, I tried, it did not work. I reply, you did not persist. For the imaginal act must be felt consistently until it becomes natural. The moment it feels natural, it will externalize itself. Do not think of how it will come. Do not concern yourself with the mechanics. The how is not your concern. Your concern is the end. Live in the end. Feel it. Rest in it. Persist in it. Let me share a story. A woman desired a new home. She imagined it. She saw herself in a large room with tall windows. She felt the cool air. She heard footsteps echoing in the hall. She tasted the sweetness of the new freedom. For several nights, she imagined this scene, and then she stopped. She allowed doubt to enter. She said to herself, this is too big for me. I cannot afford it. Nothing like this has ever happened for me before. She abandoned the state. But months later, after a series of unexpected events, she found herself standing in the very home she had imagined. She said, Neville, I imagined it only for a short time. And then I stopped. Why did it still happen? I said, because for those few nights you felt it real. You entered the state, you touched it. Even after you left it, the seed was planted and the world rearranged itself to bring it about. Persistence is important, but even a moment of true feeling plants a seed. Now let us turn to the subject of identity. Who are you truly? You are not the body, you are not the name, you are not the history, you are not the roles you play. You are the awareness that observes all these things. You are the I am, the eternal self, the one who imagines. And when you identify yourself with your imagination, you awaken to your true identity as God. The moment you say, I am this or I am that, you clothe yourself in a state. But you are not that state. You are the one who chooses the state. Now let us consider the great commandment, be still and know that I am God. To be still is to quiet the mind. To be still is to silence the inner chatter. To be still is to rest in the feeling of being. And when you rest in the feeling of being without attaching anything to it, you feel the presence of God. This stillness is powerful. In stillness you dissolve fear. In stillness you dissolve doubt. In stillness you find clarity. And in stillness you create. Now let us explore the creative process in detail. Step one is desire. You must know what you want, not vaguely, not generally, but clearly. Step two is imagine. Construct a scene that implies your desire is already fulfilled. Make it simple, make it vivid, make it alive. Step three is feeling. Feel the reality of the scene. Feel the joy. Feel the satisfaction. Feel the relief. Step four is persistence. Return to the scene night after night. Fall asleep in the state. Let the feeling carry you. Step five is detachment. Do not look for the result. Do not worry about how it will come. Do not force anything. Release the desire. Trust the law. Step six is acceptance. Know that the imaginal act has set in motion its fulfillment. Walk as though it were done. Now let's look deeper into the subject of detachment. Detachment is not indifference. Detachment is confidence. It is the knowing that the imaginal act is enough. It is the refusal to worry, doubt, or fear. And when you detach, you allow the law to operate without interference. When you cling, when you worry, when you check for results, you interrupt the process. Imagine planting a seed. You do not dig it up every day to see if it is growing. You trust the soil, you trust the process, you trust the law of growth. Heb je 16 lustig in een steltje? Je als wat je voor een gewoon hele in het midden doen, maar toch wel. Het naar man. I mean, look at the train down there, telling that school. John Wilson, but you're simply serious. Or a post of that. You're doing something in the company, you can put it out on that and very popular. He's going on every bottom. You're not very good. You can spend money. I'm sure we can walk away with it. Wait up. I'm doing that's it. Now, what's your life? The only I get. You trust the soil. You trust the process. You trust the law of growth. To imagine lack is the seed. Your subconscious mind is the soil. Persistence is the watering. Detachment is the trust. Now let us turn to the subject of forgiveness in a deeper sense. To forgive is to give up the belief that others have wronged you. To forgive is to understand that all states are self-chosen. To forgive is to recognize that no one does anything to you that you did not first imagine. This does not mean you blame yourself. It means you empower yourself, you realize you are the creator, you realize you are the source, and you release others from your old assumptions. Forgiveness is freedom. Forgiveness is revision. Forgiveness is imagination applied to the past. Now let us speak of the golden rule in its true meaning. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This is not a moral commandment. It is a creative instruction. If you imagine lovingly for another, you imagine lovingly for yourself, for there is no other. There is only the one being playing many parts. When you imagine good for another, you lift yourself. When you imagine harm for another, you harm yourself. For the world is yourself pushed out. Now let us explore the promise in more depth. The promise is the spiritual awakening that reveals your true identity. It is the unfolding of the mystery hidden within you. It is the realization that you are one with God. This awakening is not achieved by effort. It is not earned. It is not deserved. It is given. It happens in its own time. The promise begins with the birth from above. One night you will awaken within your skull. You will feel a vibration. You will rise from your own head. You will emerge from the tomb of the skull. This is the resurrection. Then you will see a child wrapped in cloth. This is the symbol of your birth as God. Then you will meet David, who calls you Father. This reveals your identity as the Lord. Then you will ascend in the golden spiral. Then you will witness the descent of the dove. These experiences unfold in sequence. Now let us return to the practical side of the law. Imagine your desire. Feel it real. Persist. Trust. Allow. There is no limit to what you can create. There is no desire too small. There is no dream too large. You are the creator. Now let us consider the importance of joy. Joy is a sign that you are in alignment with desire. Joy is a sign that you are in the light state. Joy is the language of the inner man. Cultivate joy, not forced joy, not artificial joy, but the joy that comes from knowing your desire is already fulfilled. I once met a man who wanted to change his work. He hated his job. He did it going to work each morning. I said, my friend, your job is not the problem. Your state is. Enter the state of joy. Imagine your work giving you pleasure. Imagine waking with gratitude. Imagine returning home fulfilled. He practiced. He imagined feeling joy, and soon opportunities opened. He moved into work that delighted him. The job changed because he changed. Let us now consider fear. Fear is faith in the wrong direction. Fear is imagination used destructively. Fear creates the very thing it dreads. If you fear illness, you imagine illness. If you fear failure, you imagine failure. If you fear loss, you imagine loss. The cure for fear is imagination used lovingly. Imagine the opposite of the fear. Imagine safety. Imagine success. Imagine abundance. Persist until the fear dissolves. Now let us speak of time. Time is the movement of states. You do not move through time. You move through states. Each state has its own timeline, its own events, its own circumstances. When you change your state, you change your timeline. You shift into a new sequence of events. Many people try to change the future by worrying about it, but Worry is imagination used against oneself. The future is shaped by the state you occupy now. If you want a different future, occupy a different state. Now let us consider imagination as the only reality. The physical world is not ultimate reality. It is the shadow of imagination. It is the reflection of your inner state. Your imagination is the creative power. Your imagination is the inner world. Your imagination is the cause. Let us explore the nature of consciousness. Consciousness is the one and only reality. Everything exists within consciousness. Nothing exists outside it. The world is consciousness objectified. When you change your consciousness, you change your world. This is the essence of the law. Now let us consider one more aspect, gratitude. Gratitude is creative. Gratitude is magnetic. Gratitude aligns you with your desire. Feel gratitude as though your wish is already fulfilled. Let the feeling rise naturally. Let it carry you. Gratitude is the emotion of faith. Tonight before you sleep, enter the state of gratitude. Feel thankful, feel blessed, feel fulfilled. This feeling will draw to you the conditions that match it. Now let us conclude the lecture. Tonight when you lie down, remember these words. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Enter the state, feel it real. Persist in the feeling. Fall asleep in the state. Let the law operate. You are the creator. You are the operant power. You are the imaginal being who shapes the world. Use your imagination lovingly. Use it boldly. Use it wisely. And when the promise unfolds, you will know who you truly are. Good night.